Members, it's the appointed time, and we now have a quorum. The meeting now begins. First item on the agenda, election of chairman and deputy chairman. We now proceed to election of chairman for the panel on commerce and industry for the 2022 legislative session. The Secretariat has issued a notice informing members that as at the deadline for making nominations for chairman of the panel, only one valid nomination was received. The member nominated was Mr. Peter Shiu. He was nominated by Mr. Ma Fong Kwok and seconded by Mr. Edward Lau. Since Mr. Peter Shiu was not elected chairman or deputy chairman of another panel, and he wasn't elected chairman or deputy chairman of any related government advisory body, according to the rules of procedure and House rules, I announce that Mr. Peter Shiu is elected chairman of the panel on commerce and industry for the current session. I now invite Mr. Shiu to preside over the meeting. Congratulations. Thank you very much. We now proceed to election of deputy chairman. This is the election for the deputy chairman of the panel on commerce and industry for the 2022 session. The Secretariat informed members that as at the deadline, only one valid nomination was received on deputy chairman for the panel. The member nominated was Mr. Sunny Tan. He was nominated by Mr. Jeffrey Lam and seconded by Mr. Jimmy Ng. Since Mr. Sunny Tan was not elected chairman or deputy chairman of another panel, and he wasn't chairman or deputy chairman of any other relevant government advisory body, in accordance with the rules of procedure and House rules, I announce that Mr. Sunny Tan is elected deputy chairman of the panel for the current session. Congratulations. Item number 2, schedule of meetings for the 2022 session. Based on past practice, the regular meetings for the panel would be held on the third Tuesday of each month from 2:30 to 4:30 p.m. The proposed schedule of regular meetings has been tabled. Do members agree with the proposed schedule? If there are no comments from members, we will use the same schedule. The Secretariat, the clerk will issue a notice to inform members of the confirmed schedule of regular meetings. Item number 3, items for discussion at the next meeting. The LegCo meeting on February the 16th will include a motion debate on the policy address. On recommendation from the administration, the Secretariat has reserved February 15th, 2:30 to 4 p.m. for the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Secretary for Innovation and Technology, and the Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs to brief the panel on the Chief Executive's 2021 policy address. Do members agree with the proposed policy briefing? Thank you very much. As with the past, together with the Deputy Chairman, Mr. Tan, I will hold an internal meeting with the relevant secretaries of the policy bureaus to discuss the items to be dealt with during the current session. Any suggested discussion items from members? You may also inform the clerk of the panel by the 8th of February, which is a Tuesday, in writing. Any proposed items from members? Ms. Eunice Yong. Thank you. In the coming year, we should explore how we can diversify Hong Kong's industries and how Hong Kong could be integrated in the I&T plans of the Greater Bay Area. I propose the same at the I&T and panel on economic development. We should set up a subcommittee on integration into the GBA, including our strategies, short, medium to long-term measures, etc. Even if the subcommittee could not be set up, we should still include the discussion item of GBA integration in our future meetings. Mr. Edward Lau. And I hold an interest in the NT-North development, including the Northern Metropolis. The metropolis would only succeed with the right industrial development. The River Loop area would be the center for innovation and technology, and we also have the Sun Tin Technopole. The chief executive said earlier that land for I&T use would be tendered for startups. So hopefully at the Commerce and Industry panel, we can have in-depth discussions on the Hong Kong Shenzhen I&T Park at the Loop area and how land could be granted and the government's plans in these areas as well as the Sun Tin Technopole. Mr. Sunny Tan. There will be restructuring of the industry branch in the proposed new bureau. Industrialization is about encouraging industries to return to Hong Kong. For many industries such as watches and jewelry, the manufacturing bases are no longer in Hong Kong, whereas for some other industries, manufacturing still takes place here. So with the establishment of the new Innovation and Industrial Bureau, the Secretary should come up with a proper blueprint to further develop our existing industries. Very often our exporters need to take out export credit insurance. So in terms of developing the domestic market, promoting dual circulation, very often exporters complain that they could not take out ECIC. So we want to know how the government can support our industries. Ms. Olden Chow is not a member of the panel, but you may still speak. Thank you. Chairman, as you know, since the last term, I have been promoting the idea of reindustrialization. So in the current session, we wonder whether this could be included on the agenda. That is the progress of reindustrialization in Hong Kong. The panel on commerce and industry is the main panel responsible, but reindustrialization might involve other panels such as the ITBP. So, Chairman, if a relevant subcommittee could be set up, that would be beneficial or conducive in promoting reindustrialization. But that would be up to you, Chairman. Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Chairman, the government proposed restructuring of some policy bureaus. The industrial branch would be incorporated into the technology bureau, but the plans are yet to materialize. I see this rather necessary. So in the future, can we discuss certain issues together with other panels? Even if the restructuring does not take place, we could still have joint debates on certain issues such as innovation and technology. Thank you very much. Mr. Duncan Chiu. I have 2 points to make. Currently, at the Greater Bay Area, there are committees on the establishment of new standards. So in terms of such discussions, or when such discussions take place, how can we ensure that more industrial representatives could take part, such as cross-boundary standards, data exchange, etc. That way we can participate more in the GBA discussions. And in terms of the government restructuring, such as the incorporation of the industrial portfolio in the I&T Bureau, so would there be any rationalization of policies in the future? Hopefully we can have a discussion on that. Professor Sun Dong. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to explore I&T development in Hong Kong and how it can achieve synergy with industrial development. In 2017, Chairman Xi proposed the idea that Hong Kong could be an I&T center. The context was that Hong Kong's industries were not diversified enough, and new impetus must be identified for Hong Kong's economy, and that is why it proposed the role of I&T Center for Hong Kong. And in recent years, in terms of Hong Kong's role as an I&T center, are we fulfilling President Xi's expectations in developing our industries and to create laboratories, etc.? And so it's about the government showing commitment in I&T development and startups, and in plans such as the Northern Metropolis, has I&T been included as a key goal? And as some members pointed out, are we actually developing new industries? What are the actual strategies? Thank you very much. Dr. Wendy Hong. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to echo what Professor Sun said. Going forward, we will be combining I&T and the industrial portfolio in a single bureau. In the past, I&T development placed an emphasis on R&D in Hong Kong and commercialization in the Greater Bay Area. Research is important, but research itself is not an industry. R&D only makes up 5% of the profit along the entire chain. If Hong Kong only engages in R&D but not industrialization, our economy cannot benefit. So in terms of I&T development in Hong Kong, we need to think about industrialization or commercialization. We need to think about both R&D and the downstream and upstream parts of the chain is more than just reindustrialization. It's an entirely new process. I agree with what Professor Sun just said. I&T and our industry should be considered side by side. Mr. Kennedy Wong. So my proposed discussion item is building a digitalized Hong Kong. For the different bureaus such as the CDB, CMAB, and ITB, the first two bureaus might be somewhat relevant, while the CMB has to do with how Hong Kong's digital economy can be integrated into the GBA. Thank you.
周文港議員。
Mr. Chow Kong. Dr. Chow Kong. So members have already talked about how we can really use innovation, and R&D does not constitute a huge part. That is a fact. Out of the 8 tertiary institutes in Hong Kong, on R&D becoming real products is actually not too popular right now. We really must try to review our current policies to see whether they're outdated, because that will really affect the industrialization process in Hong Kong. Secondly, we emphasize that we really must try to integrate into the national development. Last year, there are already about 370,000 people living on the mainland who are working in business or other sectors. There are about 14 chambers of commerce on the mainland that are permanent, and they have already taken up some of the functions of our ETOs, but then they actually have to work individually. Can we also try to work with them as well? The ETO is responsible for overseas development. Perhaps we could try to adjust the work and see whether it could be better integrated. Would any other members like to speak? Well, you can always submit in writing your proposals before February 8th, which is a Tuesday. The Secretariat will handle your proposals. Last AOB, if there is no AOB, then I'd like to thank all members for attending. I adjourn the meeting. Thank you.